Here we are back again, and I'm so excited and delighted to have in studio with me another student from my course in Singularity. It's a course in transcending the duality of the ego. And today we're going to focus on lessons learned in self-love, or rather about self-love. And April, it's been quite a journey, right?
Yes, to say the least.
There have been some moments where you felt a little lost.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And then there are these transcendent moments where you feel like, wow.
Yeah, definitely having big tests. And when you get to that point, it's about what is it that I want?
Mm-hmm.
And is this what I want? Because my whole life I've been living in the duality of my ego, and I'm done with it.
Well, and it is. So what have you learned about the power of setting intentions for yourself?
It's setting goals and knowing that that's what you want, so you conspire with the universe to get exactly that. And when you don't set intentions, you let your ego and parasites and any other negative entities just rule your life.
Which is, speaking of parasites, the ego is the biggest parasite, yes. Although a lot of people would sit and argue about their ego being their amigo, and that, they couldn't possibly exist without it because they would have absolutely no sense of self. And it is an interesting concept because that would be true for people who identify with their ego as themselves.
Exactly,
correct?
Exactly.
But what have you learned about this whole duality that everyone is taught about the ego versus the higher self? We don't learn very much in school or in our churches about the higher self or the possibilities of even stepping into that, which we're calling the I am or the Christ consciousness. But what has that been like for you?
Well, I hadn't even heard of the ego or my higher self until I got into college. So, that says a lot why I was living my life the way that I was. But
and probably more specifically in my classes.
Exactly. But personally for me, like before I started your course, I was just a mess. Not even a hot mess, just a mess all over the place. And, but from the moment I met you, I knew that you had all the answers that I was looking for, which was, I would say, is my higher self.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad you're quantifying it, that you were looking for. I don't have all the answers, but what I found is that most of the students who found me at the college were looking for a connection to spirit.
Exactly. Because you have that innate calling that's just, and what is really in your heart's purpose, your heart's desire, and it pulls you towards that. And so taking this course, at first my ego was like, oh no, like already fears, like, I don't know if I can do this class and this, but my higher self told me, if this is here, then it must be time, and I must be ready for it.
Well, it's interesting because you were the one in the beginning that was the most serious about doing the work. And of course, everybody in the class hit more than one brick wall.
Yeah.
And some of them got knocked out and didn't get back up.
Yeah, they got knocked off the track. And
you got knocked down, knocked off, but you got back up.
Yeah, kept getting back up. And I got tested a lot. And from those tests, I realized that I was being controlled by fear. And it had such a hold on to me. And there's no reason for it.
Well, but if you think about it, you being the mother of a young child, Sage is how old now?
A year and 5 months.
Oh, wow. Just not even a year and a half old. And there's a lot of fear associated with being a parent, right? Because nobody is teaching you how to be a parent.
No, there's no books or anything. Like, here you go.
Yeah, before you become a parent, right?
Yeah,
you can take, I remember thinking after I had my first child, when Salim was like 2 years old, I took a child psychology class and a child development class, and I thought, why isn't this mandatory for everybody?
Right.
You know, before you even think about becoming a parent, because I was looking back over those first 2 years and all of the stages that the children go through. And I was thinking, man, if I had known this, it would have been so much less stress and guilt on my part about how do I deal with this. Exactly. So being a parent, and on top of that, you're a single mom, that I think in and of itself creates a lot of stress and a lot of fear that you were dealing with.
Yeah, because there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it, and
Absolutely.
the ego just does not like stepping into power or having responsibility. It's just about fear and doubt, and then comes guilt if you feel like you're not doing the right thing for your child.
And beating yourself up.
Exactly.
Very good with that. Yeah, I think you did a really good dose of guilt, right?
Oh, absolutely. I hit my roadblock and just let it take. I even went to like a week or two of depression during taking your course, and just got sidetracked. But I still persevered. I still was like, this isn't what I want. This isn't where I'm going, because again of that innate feeling in my heart that this is where I want to go. I want to go towards love. Yes. Towards my I am, and this is why I'm here. Yes. Stop playing small.
Yes. And look at the difference in you, like literally, physically, mentally, and emotionally. When I look at today is the last day of the class, officially, and we've got so many exciting things planned, and the difference in everybody who made it through the dark night of the soul. It's just like a blossoming, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's just
a flowering.
Exactly. And just, it's like a butterfly breaking that cocoon open and just spread those wings. Let's get flying.
And you would think with all the songs out there about love and loving yourself, Maribel and I talked about that song, The Greatest Love of All. Yet at the end of the day, that's the toughest journey, is into forgiving yourself and loving yourself. So what's one lesson that you would say that you've learned that has helped you love yourself?
That I'm not perfect, and that
you don't have to be.
No.
Hey, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And what has that meant to you, because so many, I see that as a huge trap with a lot of the people in the course, is they want to be perfect. They're way over here on this side of imperfection, and then they want to move all the way over here on the other side to perfect, when the course is really just about getting in the middle.
Yeah.
And I find that ironic and kind of humorous at the same time.
Yeah, it really is. But I feel like the whole idea of I have to be perfect is a distraction for the ego.
Of course.
Because it's pulling you this way, so you get distracted, and pulling you this way, and you never get to where you want to get to.
Get in the middle, right? And it sets up these impossible scenarios, and these things like when Vanessa and I were talking, there are all of these illogical impossibilities. Like Vanessa wanted to prove the truth a lie and then make the lie a truth. Okay, those are diametrically opposed and impossibilities, because truth is love, and love is all that there is in the universe that is true, and a lie is just a lie. Yeah. And you can make it sound true, and a lie can have 99% truth in it. But that little 1% of the lie, will not bring you into that place of oneness and singularity, because the lie can never be the truth. No. And have you looked back at any of the illogical, insane assumptions that you were carrying around that were just impossibilities to reconcile?
Yeah, and it's believing those lies. It's like you always say, it's talking with an idiot. And they just, because the ego does a phenomenal job of making the lie just so tempting that you're like, oh, okay, but it's like you're
and
not
convincing.
Yeah, but you don't see the truth, which is right there in front of you.
And so simple.
Exactly.
Right.
One of the things that you told me was and what's helped me a lot this week is there's two ways you can go. You're either coming from a place of love,
Yes,
or a place of fear.
Yes, very simple.
And having that awareness from every moment, you can tell whether you're believing the lies of your ego or in the moment with your I am.
Oh, that's an excellent point, because when you're, because most people get really confused about the voice of their ego versus the voice of their higher self. And so how have you learned to distinguish that? Because I think you just hinted on it right now.
Tapping into your body, being mindful, because if your body is in a state of anxiety, you know that you're being fearful, which you're listening to your ego and you're going off to that whole side.
Very good. Okay, see how simple it is? And you know, it's so funny when I'm talking to people and they have an aha moment and they go, oh, wow, that's so simple. And then the next session that I have with them, they're right back in the insanity of their ego. And I go, so what happened? And they go, well, you know, it just seemed too simple to be true, too good to be true, that life can be so simple and so easy. So what have you picked up about all of the complexity of the ego and how it likes to complicate everything and make everything so difficult and uphill?
Well, that in itself, if anything feels complicated, that's the ego. Any fear, that's the ego. And it's just, you have to stop in that moment, like the vows.
Yes.
And just take a deep breath. And that breath brings you back into your body.
Simple.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and life can be this simple, and that's how it's meant to be. You know, we're supposed to be children at heart,
yes,
having fun.
And what a concept, right?
Yeah.
Just feeling good, taking care of ourselves.
Looking good, feeling
right?
good. Yeah.
That is, it's so difficult for most people. And then when you look at yourself and the lack of self-care and the lack of self-love in the beginning of the course, what does that feel like now? We got 60 seconds.
Amazing. I feel alive. I am alive because I was I was lost in the beginning of the class and just went with it, like you said, with headstrong. And even though I had my tests, I'm like, no, I have a goal from the get-go, and I'm getting married.
Well, we're actually going to marry our higher self.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
We're going to divorce our ego and step into oneness with our higher self. And to me, that's the only wedding that really counts.
Yeah, right. And it's great because we can do it all together. So
exactly,
it's a marriage for everyone there. So
I love it.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's an exciting. For most people out there, it would sound absolutely insane.
Sure.
You're going to marry yourself. Yep. In a real ceremony that's official. How about that? And you know, the course has also been about moving, or I would say transcending the attraction towards codependent dysfunctional relationships. Because once you move into this self-respect and dignity and this understanding that you are a child of the universe,
yes,
and that you're made of the same stuff that the infinite creator is made of. And all of a sudden you wake up and you go, why have I been playing so small? And in that awakening, you realize how little you've settled for in life, in your relationships. And all of a sudden you wake up and you go, I'm too big for this relationship. And you're a poetess. And that was one of the things that I just loved about you in my creative writing class, is the simplicity and the beauty of your poetry and the irony and the humor. So your higher self really is tapped into the simplicity of the truth. So I'm very excited to have you share a poem. I don't. What's the title of it?
It is entitled.
You didn't give it a title yet?
No.
Well, okay. Wait, it doesn't have to have a title.
Maybe you could call it I Am. I don't know.
Okay, so we're going to title it right now. I Am. Doesn't get any better than that.
Right.
April Swalley.
If I straighten my smile and laugh more softly, will you stay here with me? If I stop silly voices and sit still instead of play, will you stay here with me? If I don't have an opinion and agree with what you say, will you stay here with me? If I pretend that you don't hurt me and pretend that I love you, will you stay here with me? If I say that I'll never leave and make excuses for your behavior, will you stay here with me? If I change all that I am to keep you in my company, why would I stay with you?
There you go. And then isn't that what most people do when they get in a relationship? They give up who they are, the core essence of who they are, to try and get in where they fit in and end up resentful.
Yeah, it's being a beggar with your little beggar bowl.
The begging bowl that I talk about.
Give me some love.
Please love me.
I'll do whatever you say. I'll change myself. No.
I'll fit into any kind of little box you want to push me into if you'll just love me. So that's
And that never lasts.
right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. What has that been like about you no longer begging to be loved and stepping into knowing that you are lovable?
Well, I am loved at this current moment. We all are. And we fail to realize that because of the lies that our ego tries to tell us.
Exactly.
And with my past relationships, I've always settled for less than plug nickels and wolf cookies, not even that.
Yeah, that's my joke with all of you. I just say, oh, wow, you settle for a plug nickel, which isn't worth a penny. And then I don't know where the wolf cookies came from. I think I made that up about, Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf and, the little basket of cookies. But now you're not. You're recognizing the plug nickel as worthless, right?
And I've seen how small I've been playing, and it's like, what the heck's wrong with me? Because your ego tries to say, well, maybe I'll try this to be great and all this other stuff, because ego wants power.
Of course. And control.
Exactly. But who you are just by being is your real power.
And you don't have to change or get in where you fit in. It's like, from the time I know for a fact I learned this lesson in third grade, that if I have to conform and be someone that I'm not to be your friend, well, I don't want to be your friend.
Exactly.
Because if you can't like me just the way that I am, I'm not going to ask you to conform and be anything other than who you are. So if that's your prerequisite,
Bye-bye.
I'd rather be by myself.
Exactly.
And my teacher taught me that it's better to be alone than in bad company. And I think that's such a simple concept, but most people are afraid of being alone, so they settle for being in bad company. Does that sound familiar?
It does, because I feel like the reason why people don't want to be alone is because they're alone with all their baggage, their crap.
Right.
Exactly. So if they have another person, they no longer see their stuff, they see that person's
there
stuff, so they
go.
want to start changing it. Other person does that, and that's why you have so many toxic and dysfunctional relationships.
Well, you said it in a nutshell. It's the beauty of Earth. That's the beauty of duality, is that the craziness stops the minute you look at it and go, I don't like this game anymore.
Exactly.
I'm not going to play. I don't like the rules.
Yeah.
Don't like the consequences. I'll create my own game.
Exactly.
Right?
Make
with
your
better
own
rules.
Exactly.
Right? And better consequences. Much better outcomes. And that inability to be resilient does not allow you to learn from those mistakes and heal and get the lesson where you're now empowered and you're no longer giving your power and your sovereignty away. I said we were going to talk about the daily vows that we do, where we're literally setting our intentions and stepping into, this is who I truly am. and these are the intentions that I'm setting for today and every day. So how have the daily vows really helped you become this beautiful lotus blossom that has opened up? Finally.
From out of the mud, yes,
right?
ma'am.
From out of the mud of the ego.
It's like you were saying, the lessons, and that was one of the vows, is seeing the lessons in every perceived attack,
Yes.
you know, and I think that's what helps with resilience. It's not getting knocked down and saying, well, that's it, and just feeling sorry for yourself and just going
And
down.
saying, I tried.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, okay, well, why did this happen? What can I take from this? You know, because life is always about giving and taking.
Yes. And cause and consequence, and accepting responsibility. Because, you know, what I've noticed with people in their ego is that it's very cunning and slick and conniving. You know, once it realizes that, oh, Dr. Grant is very loving and forgiving, so now I'm just going to say, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I didn't mean to do that. So now, can I get back in the game? Well, you know, I do have a 3-strike rule. Okay, so you strike out 3 times, no, you don't get to get back in the game. So we got to have some boundaries, right? What have you learned about boundaries?
Just, you know, knowing I don't want to play that person's game. I don't want to believe their lie, and
You don't
they
have
don't have
to.
they don't have any authority over me, and you know, because in their game, you never win.
There you go, because it's their game.
Exactly.
And
They're
you
gonna
know,
take all of it from you. So.
Totally. And then for me, I think the thing I love the most about being from Texas, and in particular from Houston, because Houston and Dallas are so different. You know, the people in Dallas are more like the people in California and LA. But people in Houston are like, look, if you create a private club in Houston and they have all their little rules and they don't want to let you in their little private, you know, club, because, you know, I like to go dancing, and you know how they have these lines and they go, oh, you can come in. No, you can't come in. You know, I remember the first time I saw that, I was in line and I went, oh, no. I don't go to places like this, you know, and we just create our own game. We create our own club. And it's like, I don't want to be in your club if you think it's that exclusive. Okay, so I did say we were going to do another poem.
Okay.
So let's share another poem that April Swalley came up with while she was in the chorus. Did you give this one a title?
No, not this
You don't
one.
like titles. That's all right.
They come to me at later times, I guess.
That's all right.
Okay, so this one was for my son, Sage. I pick up my bags, and he runs to the door. Grandma unlocks it, and he embraces this chore. He swings the door open, and he waves goodbye. I smile at him, and as I grow warm inside. I ask for a kiss, because his are the best. He embodies true love, and never anything less. I step outside, and look back once more. My baby waves goodbye, and he shuts the door. Sunshine greets my face as I start a new day. I have work to do, and I see it as play. All that I do for you, my child, so you can be free, letting your spirit run wild. This time that we share is the greatest treasure. It is free and endless for our soul's pleasure. God has given me you and has given you I. Sharing this gift is what gets me by.
Wow. and it just flows. You know, what I love about your poetry is it's so effortless. Like the rhythm and the rhyme, it's just very natural. And, you know, I just realized that with all the craziness and chaos in the group, and some of the members had to go because they were there just to create craziness and chaos. But you were on a roll with the screenplay that you were writing, and one of the members just got very jealous and decided to sabotage what you were doing. So are you going to get back to that?
That I am. You know, I also realized that, you know, because I had that happen, because I got hijacked and just said, you know, and hit this roadblock, I said, you know, I need to get more centered, become whole
go back to it
before I can go back to it.
That makes sense, because you can't really be creative when you're not in a good space. So I'm just checking to make sure that you didn't allow that to get completely hijacked.
No one stops my creativity
I love
whatsoever.
Because that's really your therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The writing.
And that's what my inner child loves to do, is to write.
And you're so naturally good and talented at it. I'd like for you to talk about the course materials because it's pretty intensive. There's a lot of reading and a lot of writing, and yet most of the students have just breezed through it effortlessly.
Yeah, and it's all there to serve a purpose. What I've realized and dealt with as a student or experienced was whatever I was going through, whatever lessons I was learning in my daily life, the reading or the movie material just spoke to me directly. And it's trusting your I am and just saying, here you go, and surrendering to it. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Oh, this makes sense. And then I'd snap out of whatever, perceived attack that I was dealing with and got out of it, got myself back up. And
for someone like you who loves to write and loves to read, the forum, I have so enjoyed the post that you write. And we've got quite a few, a lot of talent has come out of this group in the writings.
Yeah, I love reading everyone's story because they really speak from their heart and their experiences, their higher selves, and it's just having that and sharing that with everyone else makes it just that much more exciting on this journey to singularity.
Right, and what does it feel like now to be among a small, really wonderful group of people that are devoted to this lifelong journey of evolving and growing and becoming more spiritual?
It's amazing. It really feels like a family. It feels like you've known these people forever, and
we probably have.
Right? But it just feels natural. Like just growing up, I think we've all struggled with feeling indifferent and just kind of out of place here and there, and then just
alienated, right?
Yeah, and just being together, it's like, this is what I've wanted and I have it and I'm going to appreciate it because it's a blessing.
And it's sort of having this sense of belonging because you're with people who are questioning everything and who are learning new things and who are open to new possibilities and who are breaking out of boxes and cocoons and discovering something new every day instead of every day it's a rut. Oh, here we go again.
And you cheer them on too because you realize that's me too. We share this interconnectedness and you're just happy for them. And also whatever that they go through, it makes it easier for you to learn, like, if, so-and-so, they got this insight. Oh, wow, like, this applies to me. Now I get it, and we just help each other grow,
Exactly, and you don't feel so alone on the journey. I know one of the students who came in rather late, Valencia, she talked about how exciting it was to be among a group of people who were sharing the trials and tribulations and the challenges that they were dealing with in their journey, and it made her feel not so alone in what she was going through.
Yeah, and it's just because I think by having this group and being authentic.
Yes, and transparent.
Exactly. But it helps everyone and realize, again, our power and stop playing the game of the ego. And because the ego wants you to feel, trapped and alone and just...
And hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so coming out of hiding very quickly, what's that been like for you? Just being yourself.
It's beautiful. It feels right. And like, again, I'm alive. This is, what we're supposed to, what we came here for.